Okay, started. Okay, so I think we are live. Let's see if there are any viewers. Let's wait for maybe just a moment.
Okay. Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so let's get started.
Okay.
I think there might be one viewer joining us. Um, all right, so let's start by asking you about last week.
Okay.
So why don't you start by just describing all the work that you did last week, including an approximate number of tactics that you did, and the sources that we used for those tactics, and what you found easy, what you found hard, what was challenging about it. So if we can talk about that, then
Okay.
we'll get an idea about how the different sources worked for you.
Right. Okay. So first thing was to play the weekly game. So which I did, I think on Sunday morning, which I found. Um, I think I had a very good time playing that game because I was trying to stick to the basic principles, and I found myself in good play positions. But then I think I gave away the win. But I'm not too bothered about that. But I felt like I was holding my own during the game for the most part.
Right.
So that was that. Spent time annotating the game as well. Um, and then the rest of the time it was mainly on spend most of my time focusing on tactics, specifically focusing on pins. So I can't remember the name of the author of the first book that you sent. Hold on, I have it right here. It's from a book called Chess Tactics for Heroes. um, and the book had a whole chapter dedicated for pins and skewers. And I think approximately it had like 70 or 80 puzzles, which was fairly straightforward for me, in the sense that I think the puzzles, most of the cases, the solution was quite obvious because the pins were already there on the page. I
Right.
didn't have to create the pins or create conditions that would end up in a pin. Then I worked out of the Chess Tactics for Champions book by Susan Polgar, which had 50 tactics dedicated under the lesson for pins. They were considerably harder, and I did spend. I think I solved all the 50 puzzles over a span of 3 days. I think I ended up with managed to find solutions for like 47 of them or something. Um,
Okay, that's
so a
good.
lot of yeah, a lot of new questions, a lot of new concepts became clear there, including like ideas of creating pins, cross pins, and things like that. So that was good. And the last thing I've been trying out was lift shifts, which has been quite hard. And So that's where I'm at with pins. Um,
Okay.
Played a couple blitz games here and there on some nights, but without much success.
Okay. Um,
So
yeah,
yeah.
so the Lifshitz book is sort of advanced. So that's one of the first books that I did when I was rated around 1650 USCF.
I see.
And I found that to be helpful. So that was definitely supposed to be challenging for you.
Right, right. Yeah.
But I think Susan Polgar's book is the right level in that
Yeah.
it challenges you.
Yeah.
and you have to take time on them. So you get your calculation process going
Right.
instead of just noting a pin that's on the board. Right.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
so that's good. So today we will discuss that game that you played. So I watched that game live, and I was very happy with how you played the opening. You stuck to very good, healthy opening principles, right? So yeah, that was great. And then there was some suspect moves in there that I will relate to some concepts that we talked about last time. So over time, when you repeatedly see the same theme and repeatedly see that you have been making mistakes in that theme, then that'll help you correct these things gradually as you play more games. Okay. All right. So let's go to the game. Okay. Do you see
I
the
do.
move? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So e4, e5, all natural common moves. We've talked about the basic ideas behind these moves. Hey, Too Hot Gaming. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so e4 is a move that's designed to control the center. So black responds in kind. You develop your knights in order to eventually get your king to safety, and black defends that pawn. Common sense move, like we've discussed before, bishop c4. So here you considered either bishop c4 or knight c3, and then you remembered what we talked about last time, that bishop c4 makes sense because you want to castle as soon as possible, and then you can think about your next moves, right? Okay.
So hold on, I had a question there. The difference between BC4 versus BB5, and one of the reasons why I chose BC4. I think I annotated it wrong. I meant BC5 there when I said went for the BC4.
Right.
BB5, and is this thing about what if the person they go A6 and then. So I wanted to avoid the whole, move my bishop twice in the opening, which is sort of what made me go BC4. I wasn't too sure how to deal with an A6 if I did BB4.
Yeah.
So that was one consideration.
Right. Okay. So just give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a question. Is your friend a complete beginner? No, he's not a complete beginner. He learned the moves when he was a kid. So how old were you when you learned the moves?
Oh, asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, I learned the moves per se when I was like 8 or something. My dad showed me the moves.
8 years of age.
Yeah, I did not play chess. I had a brief interest in chess when I was, I think, in 6th or 7th grade. Again, just knew the moves and thought I could just calculate every line and solve the play chess game. Never worked out.
By the way, can you tell us if the volume is okay to Hot Gaming? Can you hear us all right? So like Deepak said, he learned the moves early, but he did not play competitively as a kid, whereas I did. So that's how I got better. I just kept playing tournaments. Deepak actually saw me at one tournament, and that was during a time that he had developed some greater interest in chess, but I guess it fell off after that point.
That was the only tournament I ever played. A 1-1 man game in that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to your... Okay, thank you. Which volume is better than Deepak's? Deepak, can you maybe go to your Zoom settings and increase your volume a bit, your mic volume?
Let me try. 1 second. Hello. I don't necessarily have an input level.
In your preferences, if you go to mic.
Hello. Yeah, I'm running Linux, so the interface is a little different than.
That's fine. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Let me try this. Is this better? Is this better?
Yeah, I can definitely hear you louder now.
Okay, so I've switched off my automatically adjust volume option.
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's
okay.
What we need. Okay.
Okay, that's what we.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, getting back to your question about Bishop B5.
Yeah.
Bishop b5 is in fact one of the most traditional ways of playing this opening. That is the
Right,
king pawns opening.
right. Is that
So
what is known as the Rui Lopez or
the Ruy
something?
Lopez, yes,
That's the Rui Lopez. Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's like centuries old.
right.
And so you asked about a6, and I'm assuming that's a question about tempi.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Where do I go with the bishop after that? Right, and
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you go bishop b5, that's with the intention of eventually pinning that knight if black tries to develop that light square bishop by moving the pawn away, right?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you gain some time to finish your own development. Um, and so you go bishop b5, a6, and then you keep the pin with bishop a4. These are, some very common ways of playing it.
Okay. So if you do bishop a4, would black do something like b5 again, putting pressure?
Yeah, you can do that. Or you can continue developing with knight f6. There are many different ways of playing that opening.
But after a6 and ba4 and b5 and then maybe what b3
Yeah,
you
bishop b3.
so at that point
At that point, you cannot attack the bishop again with knight a5 because the e5 pawn is hanging. And you typically don't want to lose that light square bishop in these openings. So that is again something that we will talk about in your game.
okay.
Because these positions tend to open up, and you want to try to keep your good bishops especially on the board.
Okay.
So in that opening that you mentioned, so I don't play the system. This is just trying to make
Yeah.
common sense out of these moves. So you go bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, and if you go b5, bishop b3, one of the ideas that black wants to go for is to win that bishop because that's a pretty nice
Right.
bishop.
Right.
Okay, so black wants to do knight a5, but in that position he cannot do knight a5 because your e5 pawn is hanging. So black takes some time to sort that out. And
Yeah.
in the meantime, you finish development and then often play moves like c3 so that the bishop can go back to c2, and then
I
you
see.
then the game goes on from there.
I see. So
So
it's
that
not necessarily that the black is advantageous at this stage.
no, it's different things that you trade, right? So
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
by making all those pawn moves, black is not really gaining any time by attacking your bishop, but he's also opening up, for example, that a8 to h1 diagonal. So maybe in some lines, maybe put the bishop on b7. So there are many different factors that are
I
at play.
see.
So that's a very rich strategic opening.
I see.
And to be honest, I don't play e4, so I don't know about the many different variations and ideas behind those openings.
Okay.
But if you
Okay.
are an e4 player, you should eventually learn how to play the Ruy Lopez.
I see. Okay.
Because there's a rich tradition associated with the Ruy Lopez, and there are lots of lessons you can learn about chess strategy by playing that opening.
I
Okay.
see. Okay.
However, for now, I recommended just playing bishop c4, just to keep it to the very basics of opening principles.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the next move is f6, which you rightly pointed out that it's not a strong move. So do you want to try and talk about why f6 may not be such a good move?
So first of all, my understanding is that the f7 square is sort of like a weak square because it's sort of now like kingside castling is now not necessarily a good idea probably for black. That was one of the things. I mean, my understanding was that if you plan to castle on king's side, you want to keep the pawn structure basically safeguarding your king behind that. The the other thing is that f7 square is only defended by the king, right? There's only and to start off with, there's only one defender, so that's a potential vulnerability. So that's probably why I thought f6 was too premature at this point. And also now you have this white bishop like staring down at that diagonal too.
Yeah, so the white bishop is already staring down the diagonal.
Yeah.
But the first point that you mentioned is probably more relevant in that you are removing the guard of the king. So it
Okay.
makes it difficult for you to castle kingside, right?
Yeah.
So that is one point. And another point is about the
Spades.
kingside knight. So,
Kingside. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So the best place for that knight is f6. And you're taking
Yeah.
that square away from that knight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I actually mentioned that in the annotation.
Yeah.
Now the knight is forced to go to E or H file. I was also thinking whether this f6 is also blocking the queen. I don't know if that is relevant.
Yeah, that point is not so relevant, especially in the opening. You don't want to go on adventures with the queen, and
Okay.
at this point, you have no idea how that queen is going to play a role in the game. So that is probably less relevant. The most
Right.
relevant factors are king safety and taking away the position for the knight at f6.
I see. Okay.
Okay. All right. So you instead suggest knight f6, which is a perfectly fine move. But let's imagine you're playing this position as black. Okay. Yeah, they're saying your volume is a bit too loud now. Can you turn it down just a notch, Deepak?
I can do that. 1 second.
Just a notch, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right,
Yeah.
knight f6. You have to be ready for knight g5. So what do you do if white plays knight g5 here?
Okay. Oh, so this is the potential fork
Yeah.
that's coming, and you can't defend. Okay. Let me think.
Sure.
Queen e7.
So can you tell me some drawbacks of queen e7?
One thing it blocks the the bishop, the dark square bishop maybe,
Yeah.
and generally violating the principles of I don't know if that's a drawback, but that you're moving your queen before you move your minor pieces. That's something. Maybe you want to develop your minor pieces before.
Yeah, so that queen move is getting in the way of your pieces, right? So
Yeah.
that's not a move that you willingly make.
Right.
Okay. All right. So this is actually opening theory. So I just want to show you how black should play this position. So the move is d5.
D5. Okay.
Okay, and it gets pretty theoretical and tactical here. Okay, so just to go down that line. It's
Wait,
moves
hold
like
on,
these.
hold on. So hold on. Why did white go dx? Okay, so why can't? Hold on. Can you go back 2 steps? One more. Yeah. So here you're saying if I go this, what happens? Sorry. Okay, that's the whole point. Okay, so you block it. Yeah.
So d5, the point is to block the path of the bishop. So
Gotcha.
anyway, so I mean you can spend some time analyzing these lines. I just want to give you an example of how these positions should be played, just to tell you that if you play knight f6 in that position, you have to be prepared to know what to do if white goes knight g5.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So you are saying maybe knight f6 is not what you wanna. That can break potential.
So knight f6 is fine, but only if you know these, know for example how to deal with knight g5.
Right.
And that requires a little bit of work. And at your level, I would say play simpler.
Okay.
And the way to play simpler is to just play bishop c5 there.
Okay.
Because now there's no knight g5.
Now there is. Say that again. Sorry. Now there is no
No
knight
knight
g5.
g5, right?
Let's see. Why do you say that? So if I do knight g5, uh, uh, let's see. Why do you say there is no knight g5? If I do knight g5, what happens?
Yeah,
So
what happens?
oh yeah, right. You're basically correct. Okay. Queen x
Okay,
g5.
yeah,
Yeah,
queen takes
got
the
it.
knight. Right, because you're not blocking the path of the queen with knight. Because in the earlier case, you did that with moving the
That
knight
was the
there.
thing. Yeah, right.
Okay,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
so here, I mean, let's say white castles, and then you can play knight f6. Okay, so let
White castles, knight f6.
knight
Yeah, right.
f6, and now here knight g5 doesn't make sense
Because castle.
because castles.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you almost never want to give up two minor pieces for a rook and pawn in the middle game because the two minors can do a lot in the middle game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the reason I recommend a simpler move like bishop c5 there. And so this, if you remember, I asked you to develop knights before bishops earlier, but this is a violation of that.
I see.
All right,
I see. I see. You gotcha.
because there
Okay.
is a
All right.
concrete reason now.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
chess is a game of general principles, but also of exceptions. There are exceptions all the time to these general principles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's good
Okay.
to know that it's generally better to develop knights before bishops, but in this case, you know why you might want to go bishop c5 instead of knight f6 because of that
Right.
concrete line. So you can
Right.
learn that line and play knight f6 just fine, but
Yeah.
otherwise it's just simpler. Life is a bit simpler if you just play bishop c5.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. Makes sense.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay, knight c3, d6. Stop me. I'm just going through moves that look normal without much comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Do
Yeah.
you have anything to say about d6?
Uh, I find this tension happening in the center again, and where the black is like I mentioned that black has a lot more defense on the e5, whereas white is defending the d5 square,
Okay.
and
So
d5 also. Okay, so one other thing is that it's opening up the light square diagonal for the bishop, right?
okay.
So there is that potential pin that always annoys me, and I don't know how to deal with that for the most part.
Okay.
On
Yeah, we will talk
on
about that in just a second. But
d4.
so with d6, you talked about support for e5, but does e5 need all that much support right now?
E5 needs
E5.
all that support. It's being attacked only by no, because correct, yeah, because there's only the knight threatening it. You already have two defenders.
Yes. So what
But
do you think might
d5,
be
yeah,
a higher
d
priority?
bishop developing the dark bishop, and
Exactly.
d6 blocks that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So bishop c5 is maybe a bit better.
bishop c5 is better. So bring your knights. Sorry,
Bring
bring
your
your
bishops
bishops
out
out.
before you
Yeah,
block the path
right,
of that bishop. Because later
right.
in the game, we'll see that that bishop has a lot of trouble developing.
Yeah, but then at the end it kills me. So
Yeah, and you partly helped that bishop come out, and we'll talk about that when we get
right.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so castles. So instead of castles, I want you to remember the first game from the Chernev book that we
Okay.
discussed after last week's lesson,
Yes.
where the annotation read h3 is like a coffee house move.
Right.
It's not a move that you want to make.
Yeah.
And there I pointed out that h3 is a fine move to make if it means you can restrict your opponent's pieces, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so here, if you look at the light square bishop,
Yeah. Yeah. There's only two places where you
like
can go
there's
to
there
this
and there, right?
sorry. That. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So h3 is actually a pretty fine move here. But in general, we don't want beginners to make moves like a3 and h3 because
Yeah.
when they make it, it's typically an unnecessary move. However, as long as you understand the reason, if there's a very strong reason for you to play such a move, then it's fine. But the reason these annotators in these beginner books
Right.
recommend not making such moves is precisely that, because a lot of amateurs tend to make these moves without a lot of thought. Okay, oftentimes it's not even a problem to invite a pin.
Interesting. Okay.
Even here,
Well-
it's not that much of a problem. Okay, but
Yeah, but so you're saying if wait, so what? Whose move is b6? Okay, so now
It's
instead
white to
of
move.
castling, yeah,
Yeah,
it's white to move, so I go like that. So
yeah.
then
You can go h3. Yeah,
yeah, and then the bishop's not gonna come to g4, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay,
That
all
that
right. So
just leads
you
to different positions. But the way
right,
you
okay.
played it, just castling, also makes complete sense. I mean, it's not.
So okay,
It's a good move. The move that you
okay,
played. Okay. It's just that
okay,
psychologically, maybe you felt under a bit of pressure when the bishop came to g4. But let's talk about that. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So castles, bishop g4. There was a pin. Didn't annoy me right away, but later I felt stifled. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So
So
you
this is
played.
the problem. So this is the problem, right? The annoying part is this. I was like, okay, I can maybe move my queen, but then if they take my knight, then I have to take it back with the G pawn. Now, which opens up this crazy G file directly pointed at the king, which I didn't want to do. So
Yeah.
which is where I had to keep defending my knight using my queen. So
Yeah.
that's where the
So
thinking
so
was.
at this point, that is probably valid. What you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, to hot gaming, yeah, that's the logical chess move by move book that we talked about.
Right, right, yeah. So the one other thing is that I did think about, what if I do h3 here, right? Scare the bishop away or something.
Yeah, the bishop goes
But
to bishop h5 right now, so
yeah, h5, and so it's not actually scaring it away. It's still, the pin is still on,
the
and
pin's
I
still
don't
there.
want
Yeah,
to. Yeah, I don't want to do g4 or something, because that's just like weakening the whole pawn structure on the
exactly.
front of the
Yeah,
page.
that might be a bit premature here.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So your move d3 is completely fine. So I was watching this live and I was completely happy with how you dealt with this position. You were just
Okay.
trying to develop your pieces, and that's
Right.
exactly what you do. All right. So
Yeah.
d3 is completely fine. Queen d7. Did you say something about that? Okay.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was about putting pressure on, like bringing the queen to the king's side eventually. But I wasn't too sure where the queen was gonna go after
Yeah.
that, because
Yeah.
yeah. So I didn't know what was going on
Okay.
at that point.
So
Yeah,
generally for an attack on the king to work, you need more pieces developed. Okay.
I see.
So right now, queen d7 shouldn't even bother you.
I see. Okay.
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 And how's the queen going to come to the king side anyway? So he might have to move his bishop first,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
then where does he move the bishop? And in that case, maybe you can even play h3 in that position. The queen
Yes.
doesn't have a very easy way of coming to the king side anyway, right
Right.
now. In the meantime, you will complete development, and he still has to figure out how he's going to castle. So queen d7 actually prepares queenside castling, and that's probably the reason queen d7 was played, and it's
I
probably
see.
a fine move.
Okay. I see.
Okay.
Well, so why not queen e7?
Queen e7 again. That square can be used by at least two of your minors,
That's why. Okay. Yeah. Right. Right.
right?
Right.
Queen
Yeah.
d7 actually makes sense for that reason.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so queen d7, and you went with normal development, very
Yeah.
sensible. And
Yeah.
here he played f5.
Yeah.
And usually I would say that moving a pawn like that, f6 and then f5, it's a loss of time. And so it might not be a good idea. But here, if you look at black's kingside pieces, right, the knight and the bishop, they have this urge to come out, and how do you get those pieces out? And we already talked about f6 being kind of the square that knight wants to go to. So f5 actually isn't that bad a move.
I see. I see. So there is an intention of making space for the minor pieces to come out.
Yeah,
maybe.
think of it as correcting the earlier mistake of f6.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so that's fine. Yeah, so that capture makes sense. One idea, maybe you want to open up the position because the king is still in the center.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right? So e takes f5 is fine, queen takes. All right, so here is one move that we should maybe spend some time talking about. So why did you play bishop d5?
Okay, so this is where the pin was beginning to annoy me, right? So I wanted to get my queen in action, and I don't want to. I did, and so basically my f3 sorry, the knight on f3 is now attacked by 2 pieces,
Mm-hmm.
and I have 2 defenders, the queen and the pawn, but I don't want to move my pawn because
Okay.
it was going to open up the g file. So I had to add another
Okay.
defender.
Okay.
That was the idea.
Good. So you at least had a rhyme and reason behind that move. So
Right.
that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's assume you make a normal move like rook e1. Okay.
Yes.
And then let's say he actually does this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now this position again is totally fine for white. Because
Okay.
now, how many pieces does black have attacking you? There, he has like barely one piece that is developed, and even that piece is
Right.
not a great piece.
Right. Right.
You have a very good light square bishop. Your dark square bishop is pretty good. Your knight is pretty good. It has the square here that he can jump to, or here, and create all sorts of threats.
Oh, right. Right. Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's a weak a7 pawn hanging if he decides to castle. All of these are factors in the position.
I
Okay?
see.
So,
Okay.
so this type of double pawn structure is not to be feared if there are not, especially the queens are off the board now. So your king is actually not unsafe.
Okay, that's interesting. I would not have made that evaluation, right?
Right.
I'm when I look at this, I'm seeing, I'm imagining there's going to be like rooks pointing straight at the kings fairly soon. That's the scenario that I'm
Yeah,
fearing.
but if at all anyone's rook is going to point towards the other side, it's your rook, because
Yeah.
this is an open file for you. So
I
you
see,
can
I
you
see,
can
I see.
move the
Okay.
king away and bring your
Right.
rooks there if you want to activate your rooks, for example.
I see. Okay. Okay.
But as of now, all you need to do to evaluate this position is to look at your pieces, compare your pieces with your opponent's pieces, and here you will clearly see that white stands better.
Interesting. So, what is the reason behind that initial RE1, as opposed to? Is it about just getting your rook activated?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a random move there. Rook e1 is a sensible move. However,
Yeah.
you can also think of moves like h3, for example, just forcing that trade if you want.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the best move is, but rook e1, makes sense.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
Okay, so knight.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other problem with bishop d5 is we talked about not allowing your opponent to develop with tempo last time.
Right. Right.
So here, by playing bishop d5, what is the move that black should play?
Knight f6.
Knight
or-
f6 with tempo. Yeah, I sort of
Yeah.
drew the arrow, but
Yeah,
that
knight
is
or-
what we
or-
should think about.
Yeah, and I think the guy played knight e7.
I think he played,
That's-
queen g6 next move.
Okay, queen g6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was okay. What? Okay.
So I think he wanted to do some tricks like bishop h3, trying to create some attacks against the g2 pawn
Yeah. Okay.
because of that pin.
I see. Okay.
But these are very easy to deal with.
Counter.
Yeah.
I see.
For example, you can even move the knight away, and this bishop is actually protecting g2 that way.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so he plays queen g6 instead of the better knight f6. Okay, so what do you do here? So you played d4.
So B at all late. I think B e3 might be interesting.
You mean
Yeah,
bishop?
sorry, B e4. B e4.
Yeah, so bishop e4, again, it gains a tempo on the queen.
Yeah, or maybe what if I can? Okay, hold on. So I can maybe develop my NC3 knight and not threaten, like, yeah. But what if like NB5 or something? Is that?
NB5 looks fine. Yeah, looks fine to me.
Yeah.
But I sort of like this way of rearranging your pieces. So you go here. He has to spend spend one move moving
One
his
move,
queen,
right?
and then
Yeah.
you even have this kind of move,
Right.
like post the
Right,
knight
right.
there. Create problems with the c7. So he has to spend more time dealing with that threat, and in the meantime, you can even push these. Sorry, where's that? Yeah, in the
B3?
meantime, You can even push these pawns because the only place that black can castle is the queen side.
Queen side, right,
So
right,
you
yeah,
eventually do want to move this knight away and start a pawn storm if that happens. And black will need to castle at some point
right,
soon. Okay.
right. Okay, yeah,
So that kind of a plan makes sense there. But I imagine there are many good moves in that position.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so queen g6 is a poor move. So all of these are good moves and probably better than the move that you played. However, during the game when I saw d4, I was pretty happy because I felt like you were applying something that we talked about. But I'm not sure. So let me
Let me see.
see
So,
what you thought about there.
okay, what did I think about this? Okay, so, uh, this sort of a release of tension in the middle. Is that what? Hmm.
Okay, so this is what you call a pawn break.
Pawn break. Yeah, that's what I was sort of. I think it was beginning to a point where I was feeling very constricted with things. I think I was sort of initiating things at this point. I think. Uh,
Yeah, I also get the feeling that when you get attacked, you sort of like to counterattack.
yeah, you mentioned that last time. Yeah,
We'll see more of
yeah,
that in this game, and I want to give you
yeah,
some practical tips regarding that. But let's just talk about this first. So when
yeah.
I saw you make this move d4, I thought you were trying to open up the position because the king is in the center. Because we talked about this in
Right.
the context of some other game earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
However, if it was with that idea that you played d4, what you should notice is that the king is just one move away from castling.
Right.
So opening up the position to attack this king that's in the center right now may not be that big of a deal because of that. But maybe in some positions this sort of a move can work. However, so basically I like the idea behind the move if that was your intention.
So it was not fully the intention that like, oh, I have a king down on my e file. I'm going to start attacking right away. It was mainly for me to feel a little settled, if I may say so. Just to like with those exchanges, a little many squares would open up, and maybe I can navigate my pieces a little bit more freely. That was
Okay.
sort of the thinking.
Okay.
I think I don't think there was intention of aim for the king because it's open right now. No, not necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. So by playing d4, what pieces did you think would get liberated?
Uh, the one is the one thing is maybe I can bring out my queen. I
Okay.
think
So
that
you wanted to
yeah,
do queen d3.
d3 or like put it in the center. You have like access to both sides. That kind of a mindset. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. However, if you wanted to play queen d3 with the intention of getting out of that pin,
Mm.
then you could have just played bishop e4, and the queen just goes out of that g file.
Which one? Sorry, say that again.
So had you played bishop e4 earlier or even now? Hey, thanks for the follow, Too Hot Gaming. Yeah, so had you played bishop e4 earlier, the queen had to go off the g file, so that would relieve some of this pressure that may have contributed to you feeling a bit stifled. And then, as we talked about earlier, this pin is no big of a deal, especially with this bishop 2 now, protecting
Yeah.
these points. You simply can play moves like h3.
Yeah, but I
and-
never considered h3 this whole thing. I felt
Right.
like, that was maybe that was a big miss, right? I could have released some pressure by doing that, but I didn't. I didn't want to. I wanted to safeguard all those 3 pawns exactly how it is.
Okay.
That was sort of the mindset I think I was
Yeah,
going.
so I think
Yeah.
that early prejudice against this, queen exchange and doubling of pawns led to all of these moves.
Right, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
in that case, maybe the thinking behind d4 was not all that accurate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if the thinking was you wanted to open up the position and go on the offensive, then I very much approve of that sort of
Right. No,
psychology.
no, that wasn't. That wasn't. It was a tension release situation.
Okay.
Give me a second. Let me just turn on my light.
All right. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So d4, and we talked about all these other moves you could have played, but d4 in principle I liked for all the reasons that we just talked about. Okay. So knight g e7. All right. So knight g e7, you say, was putting more pressure on the bishop on d5 and indirectly therefore on the knight on f3. So again,
Because it's trying to take away my defender off f3. That was my mindset, right?
yeah,
So
but the queen
yeah.
is still protecting your f3 knight. It's not so much of a big deal right now.
Yeah, but I think my mindset was that, my whole plan was to move my queen,
Yeah.
and now if the bishop is going to be attacked, then I can't move my queen anymore because that was it. So that's why I sort of initiated that whole queen exchange,
Yeah, sorry.
and
Okay,
yeah.
so let's go back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the lesson about bishops and
Yeah.
king pawn openings that tend to open up later on.
Yeah.
You want to preserve that bishop. That bishop is a hero.
I see. Okay.
Okay, you don't want to simply give up that bishop.
Okay.
So,
So why do you specifically say the light square bishop? What is the significance of that as opposed
okay, so
to
one reason, especially in these positions, sorry about that, my mouse just sometimes does that.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, so these squares, right? These are all weakened because of that f pawn not being there anymore.
Right. Right.
And additionally, if you can exchange this bishop for your knight here,
Yes.
okay, there are actually ways in which you can sort of force that exchange.
Oh, so you're basically taking their light square bishop,
Yeah.
and our if our light square bishop is on the board, there's nothing directly opposing that. Is
Yes. So
that
that's
yeah?
actually called the unopposed bishop.
I see.
And
Okay.
unopposed bishops, especially when you have the initiative, which you do in these kinds of positions where you are up in development, those unopposed bishops tend to be very strong.
I see. And it could happen to either light or dark, right? It's not just about light squares.
Sorry, can you say that again?
It's not just about a light square bishop you're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's a
It could
general
happen-
that's a general
general
point.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, if you had a position with dark squares weakened, then you would try to preserve your dark square bishop and try to get the opponent's dark square bishop.
I see. Interesting. So you are saying I should have understood maybe that the opponent's light squares are weak because of those f pawn pushes and whatnot. It should have told me that preserve my light square bishop and, if possible, take the opponent's light square bishop.
Yes.
That
So,
should be
yep.
the
So
kind of
that's
thinking that we want to have. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So that's one feature of the position, and also at the very beginning, I talked about just preserving bishops even without this factor of weakened light squares.
Right.
Most beginners have this tendency of neglecting an attack on their bishop if they can just get the knight in return. But in open positions, bishops tend to be a bit stronger than knights. And I mean, this is a judgment call, but in this position, clearly that bishop is stronger than this knight, which just got developed.
Right. Right.
Okay, so this is another factor in addition to these light squares.
Right.
So KJ Bet's last move, yeah, knight b5 was probably a fine move as well. Yeah, I think we briefly talked about that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
queen
right.
g6, and here you wanted knight b5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably fine as well. However, I like this plan better of just getting all this stuff going. But I'm sure knight b5 is fine. I haven't checked though. Okay. Okay, so here clearly the best move has to be bishop e4.
Bishop e4, correct.
Yeah, you not only preserve the bishop, but you gain time
Yeah.
on this queen.
Yeah.
Too Hot Gaming is playing h3 a good move at some point. Yes. So h3, if it can force this exchange, right? That's always going to be good for white in this position, precisely because of what we talked about the weakened light squares and generally the bishops being stronger in this type of a position.
So what if after h3 bishop goes h5? Is that
So not
now?
here. So we have to talk about the specific position, but we, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we have to look for a position where it works. Yeah, I think this was a general question about h3 at some point, but that point will be determined by whether you can sort of force this exchange. Okay.
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 Right. Okay.
Oh, this is a variation that you wrote, maybe?
Yeah. I think I was just playing
Okay,
around
fine.
with
Okay.
some
Okay,
variations.
that's
Yeah.
okay.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Oh, wait. So yeah. So you played Queen D3.
Right.
So I was watching live, and up to this point, even like yeah. So up to this point, I was pretty happy. But this is the first point where I felt like you went off the track a bit.
Yeah. So this is the time when I wanted to sort of liberate the queen, and it's like, okay, I have my, if. So basically, it's like, if they go bishop takes knight or something like on g takes f3, I can exchange. I take the queen, and then it comes with a check. So they take the queen back, and then I can go. Then I can open up the g file. That was the mindset there,
Okay.
and yeah.
So there are several principles that we have to talk about here. Okay.
Yeah.
One is our king is safer than black's king because, like I said earlier, this is the way the black king has to go.
Right.
And you have all these pawn storms that are almost ready-made for you.
Yeah.
And in the last lesson, we talked about this principle that you initiate a queen exchange if your king is unsafe, but if the opponent's king is unsafe, you probably want your queens on.
I see.
Okay. Now, in this position, it is not clear that the black king is all that weak, so that is less of a factor. But that is always something that I want you to keep in mind. Anytime you initiate a queen exchange, you look at the relative king safety. Okay.
Okay.
So that should give you one hint.
Yeah.
Now, the other hint is that you look at your opponent's development, and if it looks something like this, where look at that bishop, for example, that has a lot of trouble coming out.
Right.
Now, by allowing this knight to exchange on d5,
yeah,
you're making way for that bishop to get out. So, in general, if your opponent is cramped, right?
Keep them
as he is here, you want to keep all the pieces on because he's suffocating on his own pieces.
I see. Okay.
And you don't want to help him out by removing pieces from the board.
Right. Okay. I see.
So that's another reason why you should have moved that bishop away.
Yeah, I also just realized that by doing be4, you're actually now stifling that e7 knight from developing further, right? Because you don't have the d5 and the f5 squares available anymore.
Which de4? Oh, bishop e4.
Bishop e4, correct? Yeah. So then,
this
square and this square is also this knight is now again sort of stuck.
Yeah, you can even play bishop e4. You can even stick a wedge in black's position with the push d5. Sometimes you can even do that.
Right.
And once that knight moves away, where is this king hiding? So so all of that was possible had you played bishop e4.
Right. Okay.
So I have a question here. I'm interested in the tension between d4 and e5. Does one side gain any advantage by exchanging pawns? So this will also be a feature later on in the game where I felt like white taking on e5, and if black takes back, it actually opens up this bishop. And you have to always think about whose pieces are you helping by exchanging pawns or by changing the pawn structure.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's something that I want you to keep in mind during
So
your
this
game.
is what you mentioned when you said I helped the opponent's black dark square bishop to
Yeah,
develop by initiating this exchange,
yeah.
and so I did. I helped him twice in some sense, I guess.
Well, here,
Uh,
yeah, here and later on. Yep.
right. Yeah.
Okay, so he takes the bishop, which is fine. Slightly more accurate was maybe to take your queen first, just to preserve his pawn structure there. Now,
I see.
a
Yeah.
word about pawn structure. Had the queens been on the board, a move like h takes g6, let's say it's some other piece instead of the queen there, but you still have queens on the board. Then opening up the position to the king is of relevance. But once the queens are off the board, then you probably don't want to destroy your pawn structure like that. Usually when you destroy your pawn structure, you should get something in return.
Yeah.
Okay? And
So you're talking from black's perspective, right?
yeah, from black's
Right.
perspective, he went for the bishop here,
Right.
but I'm saying he should maybe have taken your queen first and then
Yeah.
only then the bishop.
Yeah.
However,
But
I'm
do
also
you?
saying,
What? Yeah. Why do you? So, but if they did what they did to basically disrupt the pawn structure and open up the H file with that rook pointing straight down, is that good or bad? I thought that was good for black.
that is good for black only if that means something concrete. But without the queens and without all of these pieces pointing at your king, there's nothing
Oh,
that rook really does there.
I see. Okay.
So for that reason, maybe there's not enough compensation for doubling the pawns. However,
Okay.
if it was some other piece that was exchanged on g6 and black still had the queen, maybe let's say here, then
Right.
that would suddenly become relevant.
Yeah. 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 Right. Right. Yeah. That's more threatening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so he did this, which is fine, all of this, and black is suddenly quite fine.
Yeah.
Because look at
Yeah.
all that space now,
Yeah. Right.
right?
Right.
Okay, so this is the move that we talked about earlier,
Right.
which I think, like concretely, the computer may think that that's a fine move, but anytime you make such a move that changes the pawn structure or opens up the position, you have to think about whose piece that exchange helps.
Right.
So in this case,
So-
yeah. So even here,
Right.
like by taking that
Yeah.
knight,
You're again helping the bishop
again
develop.
helping that bishop come out.
Right. That's so earlier I helped it by letting the knight come forward with the by taking the bishop because I kept my bishop there, right? So the
Yeah.
NE so I first unblocked the helped him unblock the E7 dark square. And now I'm helping him unblock this dark square, and so now this whole diagonal is now open, which
Yeah.
was not good, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here,
All right.
okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's not great. Okay, so actually, I had a point to make here. So when you went D takes E5, you had a question. Could you have played Rook a D1?
The DXE4, DX mandate support. Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay, and then you said, but if E4, then my pinned piece is double attacked, and that would have been bad.
I have to remember this.
This
So,
one, this move.
right, if E4, then my yes, yeah, that pinned piece, this thing, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So here's one tactical theme. Like even if this happens, if you play H3, you attack the bishop.
right,
However, in this position, weakening your king like that is not exactly advisable.
right.
But in some other positions, when your knight is attacked, you can often counterattack the bishop and get away with this pin threat. You can deal
No,
with it.
but when you say pin threat, I mean I'm assuming the pin threat is not gone if the bishop goes
Yeah, how about
H5,
something
right?
like G4?
Okay, but not in this position. You don't want all your pawns in front of the king to move away.
I'm just saying, in general, when you have such a position where the opponent's bishop pins a piece like this and they attack with a pawn, if you can counterattack the bishop, that's often one way in which you can get out of that situation, not losing a piece.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah, but there's also, my point is that by doing so, you're also sort of creating weakness on the king side. Right?
So in this position, you probably don't want to do it.
Yeah. Right.
However, there's actually a beautiful instructive sequence here where you can actually either start with h3 and go knight g5 and give up the exchange.
You can give up the then you do the fork. Okay, that.
No,
okay.
The idea here is that you put this knight here. Okay, there. And now look at this weakness that was created earlier. That becomes relevant.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you push the pawn here, and there's another outpost that you make for your knights.
Yeah.
And the knights together with all the pawns, they don't give black any open files for his rooks to work.
Interesting. Okay.
So when you don't have open files, the rooks are not as powerful as they can be. And so in that position, white actually has some compensation for the exchange. Now, this is an advanced concept. It takes a great deal of experience to judge these things.
Yeah.
However, I don't want to, just not tell you about it because it's present in the position.
I see. Okay. Oh, so, okay, I see your point. So we just gave up a rook for a bishop, and you're saying even... okay, so instead, this would not have worked because this would easily, I can't do that, right? So that's still material down.
In that case, I would probably just preserve that bishop by taking your pawn or something. Like, in that position. Oh, wait. Yeah. So that rook is hanging.
Right. So this is a fork now. So maybe this would so I can do, so this is, essentially this, but then I can go here. But this is, I'm still a piece down, right?
No, you're fine here. So let's see.
Wait, I'm losing track of the same problem. I'm not keeping track of the pieces here. So that's right. No, that's not what I want. So I'm thinking this. So even. Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, so I'm actually even now. Yeah, I'm not down on pieces when I do this, right?
No, you weren't. But I'm just trying to see if we've missed something here. Second.
What did you mentioned? You mentioned after this, you're gonna go here, is what you said.
Yeah. But so that's the positional way of playing it. So, but I'm just trying to see if there's a refutation of knight f7. Hang on a second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. f7.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if something like this works.
Okay,
so if it goes here, just a second,
right.
Let me just try this.
Okay, I see.
Because if you then do this,
yeah,
this works out to be, better.
It's a right. But even
so let's go back.
Even if I take the pawn on g6, it's still material down, right? Yeah.
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 So I'm wondering if that's the refutation.
I see. Okay.
So Yeah, so that looks good to me. But maybe we can turn on the engine and check. Okay, so let me go back one move and see what the best move for black here is. Okay, so the engine suggests rook h5, but bishop e2 is the second best move, which is also winning. So yeah, so that's fine. So bishop e2, like I said, works.
Okay.
Yeah, what the engine suggests is rook h5, knight d8, knight d8.
Yeah.
And then the point is that this knight hangs.
Right. So
if you take my bishop, you take the knight. So you still end up a piece.
Yeah. So it's the same weak point you were trying to target, which is that hanging knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Same idea behind bishop e2 and bishop c4.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the other point. Okay, so knight takes e5, knight takes e5, d takes e5, and suddenly again black is better because now you've opened up his bishop.
Right.
Okay, so now your knight is hanging.
Yeah.
And you go f3.
Yeah.
When you went f3, I have a question for you. So when you went f3 here, did you consider that he could just take your pawn? So bishop takes f3?
No.
This is usually what happens when you
no, I did not.
When you play these counter-attacking moves.
I see.
You fail to see in-between moves. However, here black doesn't necessarily want to give up that light square bishop, but I'm just asking you whether you considered.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, because I'm thinking, oh yeah, you could take the pawn, I take the bishop back, but then my knight is still hanging, so I just lost a pawn for nothing. So.
Yeah, but like I said, the bishop pair is actually very strong in this open position. So as black, I wouldn't take the pawn, but I'm just telling you that you should be considering these in between moves. Especially because you have a tendency to play these counter-attacking moves.
Right. No, I did not consider that. No. Yeah.
So the simple way to play is just to maybe bring the knight back to c3 or something.
c3, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so f3, and he makes a pretty good move. I think I would have played the same move.
Right.
Okay, bishop f5, just keeping the bishop. Okay, you go rook a d1. I think this is sort of an accidental, maybe a brilliancy. It's not exactly a brilliancy, but what I'm saying is that you give up that pawn. Sorry.
Wow, I did not see that pawn. I think I wrote it in the annotation.
Yeah.
I did not see that pawn coming, Yeah,
so you blundered the pawn, but it created some chances for you against the black king.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, he didn't have to allow you these chances. He could still grab the pawn and be fine. But yeah, so rook d2, and he could have gone back anyway, as these arrows show, but instead he plays a6 and gives you a really good opportunity.
Yeah, right? So at this point I was able to sort of rc1, I saw that okay, I could maybe exploit the spin and now directly attack the c7 square. Or generally that area, right? Like, so I basically at this point, I'm thinking I have my knight targeting that area, this thing targeting this side. So this like I sensed some combinations might exist, and then I screwed.
So let me take a question here. So Two Hawk Gaming asks, is black better here? So I assume you were talking about maybe a couple of moves back. So let's go back. So maybe something like here is maybe what you were talking about. Yeah, so you think black's slightly worse because of his pawn structure? Yeah, so pawn structure again in this position is less of a factor than the fact that black has the bishop pair in an open position, because these bishops can potentially dominate the position. So black is probably not exactly worse here. Black is probably doing just fine. However, a few moves later, he makes this blunder here, right in this position. Like, he should have played bishop a4 or bishop f5 one move prior. However, by allowing this, this is actually mate in 3. So people in chat, if you want to figure out mate in 3 here, this is a good exercise. So I'm just going to give people a few moments to try and think about this.
Hopefully when this happens next time in a game, I won't forget.
Yeah, and you spent the entire week doing pins.
Yeah. And I think the interesting part was that at this point I sensed a wind, and I knew there was something here because there's like, you have the bishops, like dark square bishop and knights and everything. Like, I think I've done so many puzzles where these kinds of opportunities exist, but I rushed the next move.
That's because happened. When you played rook c1, you had anticipated taking the pawn on c7.
Yes.
And so immediately you played it.
Right. That was the whole point was that, I have a pin that I can exploit, and of course the king is not going to take back my rook because the knight is protecting it.
Yeah. But when you do that, you often miss some details, which is what happened.
Right. Yeah. Do we have a solution?
No, I think people are still thinking. Anybody want to suggest the first move? The first move should maybe be obvious. So let me give you a hint to Hot Gaming. So the hint is that this pawn is pinned. Exactly. So knight b6 check. Very good. So you play knight b6. All right. So now where should the king go? It's forced, right? So the king goes to b8. So Kvets, we want checkmate, right? So okay, now look at this position. What's the next most forcing move that white has? A forcing move being a check, for example. Yep, rook takes d8 check. Only move. And what's the final move? Yep, you got it. So that's checkmate.
Yeah.
All right. So anytime you have you come to this sort of a position, you take a breath. If you have to, you sit on your hands. If it's an over-the-board tournament, and then you don't make a move, you take 5-10 minutes if you have that on the clock, because
I think I was pretty decent on time as well in this position. I just rushed that move, and then
so in a position like this, when you sense that you have something, just spend the time. KJ bets rook a8 just checkmate. So I think a lot of people will get the sense that they have something here, like Deepak did.
Right.
But it's just that you have to take a few moments to figure it out.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so you immediately took, and here you fail to notice the danger, because here what you need to notice is that this rook hangs except for this knight.
Right.
And this is that concept of how well supported your pieces are. Are you creating tactical opportunities for your opponent? Okay. Because now if this knight is taken off, then your rook hangs.
Right.
So that by itself should be one hint. And so all you need to do, especially when you make a move like b3, threatening the bishop, you should think about where that bishop is going next.
Yeah.
Okay, like you have to think just one move.
Right.
So I'm attacking his bishop. Where does his bishop go? Does it make sense for him to put the bishop here, or here, or here, or here?
So it's gonna attack my knight.
Exactly. So that makes the most sense, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna go here, and then that has cut off your rook from everything else, and your knight is attacked twice.
Right.
And that's a winning tactic right there.
Yeah.
So you sort of forced him to play the winning tactic. So even if he had not seen that tactic, like had he played some other move, like let's make a dumb move, like king f2, I'm not so sure that he would have played bishop c6.
I see. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So here you forced him to play the winning move.
Okay. Right. Yeah. I see. Okay.
Okay. So bishop c6, and then you attack the rook, but then just the rook takes, bishop takes, and he's up a piece.
Upper piece, yeah. At
And
that point, I'm yeah,
yeah, you're
yeah,
you're completely toast here because even
yeah,
if you had a, let's say instead of this bishop you had a rook,
right.
even that position is completely lost
Because of the bishop pair.
because the
Then
bishop pair is especially strong against the rook.
I see. Okay.
Okay, and this you will understand with some experience too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
After that, it's
yeah, after
basically
that it's basically pretty much over.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point talking about these moves.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think this. Yeah. Okay. This is good. I think I have to go back and especially look at all those initial the BE4 that around those moves,
Yeah,
and the issues there, and sort of really dig into that.
yeah, okay, good.
Okay. All right.
So
Good.
let's move into the next part of this.
We'll see.
Let me adjust this a little bit.
Okay. All right. I have it here. Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to adjust my board here. Just a second. Okay, all right. So last week we talked about pins as the basic tactical theme. Okay, so we'll start off with a somewhat straightforward one.
Okay.
Yeah, take your time.
This is white to move.
White to move. Yeah.
White to move. Okay. Let's see if I can get this thing. Hmm. I think I've seen this before. I don't know. Let's see. I'm thinking B takes. Okay, first I'm thinking B takes E6. No, hold on 1 second. White to move. Okay.
If people in chat have the answer, feel free to type it. Deepak's not reading chat.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Where is the pin? White to move. Oh,
Can you
okay.
tell me the candidates?
Yeah. Okay. So B takes E5.
Okay, so usually when you say B takes, we refer to the B pawn. So if you
Oh,
if you
sorry.
refer to a
Bishop takes.
piece, yeah,
Sorry. Bishop. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. Bishop takes. So one eye line is this. So bishop takes E5. Um, uh, uh, no. Hold on. So I'm missing something here. Sorry. Bishop takes E5. Has to take it with the queen. So queen takes C5. Hold on. So I think I'm sensing that the queen can be pinned to the king, the black queen, but maybe not. Hold on. No.
Okay, so let's start from scratch and think about the candidate moves for white at the very first move and think in terms of forcing moves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
because that has helped you this week, you told me.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's do the same thing. Okay.
Forcing. Okay.
Can you maybe repeat what the forcing moves are for the viewers?
I think one of the forcing moves I'm thinking is bishop takes E5 because your black queen is under fire from the rook.
Yeah, I'm just saying generally, what is the most forcing move?
Check.
Checks,
Giving
and
a
then
check.
followed
Yeah.
by.
capture followed by a
Captures,
threaten and then a pawn
pawn
break.
breaks. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, are there any checks in the position?
There are no checks in the position.
Okay. So the next type of forcing move.
Is a capture and possibly that comes with a threat maybe.
Okay. So
Yeah.
captures. So here
Yeah.
at this point, you make a list of all your captures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So that would be bishop takes e5 is one, bishop takes e6 is another.
Yeah. And you don't have to necessarily look at every single capture
Right.
if it
Right.
doesn't make sense, but look
Yeah.
at the sensible captures.
Yeah. So I think the one out of those, I think the more threatening one seems to be bishop takes e5 because of the rook pointing at the queen,
Okay.
which sort of now forces the black to take the bishop back with the queen.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, so now
Now hold that position in your mind, okay?
right, yeah, that's the part where I'm missing. So now my queen is now pointed at the
Hi, Frappuccino.
oh yeah, okay. So I exchange queens. Queen takes e5.
Yes.
The pawn takes b5.
Yes.
Bishop takes e6, and it can't take back because the f7 pawn is.
Yes, very well done. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay. Long day. I need to get my.
Yeah, this is just warming up, but this
Right,
is good.
right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't a simple. It
Yeah,
wasn't a simple pin that's immediately apparent. You had to get to that position.
Right. Yeah.
And
So
because
you
this is the
could
first tactical problem that you did, I mean, you're just warming up. So that's
Yeah, okay.
great. So queen takes, and now because of this pin,
Yeah.
right,
Right.
okay, because
Bishop
of this
takes.
pin, the bishop hangs.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just take
Yeah.
the bishop. All right, great.
Okay. All right. Let me try to get this thing. Okay. Who's to move here?
Okay, so now it's black to move.
Black to move. Okay.
Yeah. So just for the viewers, what I'm trying to do here is, firstly, I want to assess how well Deepak does on pins, because he's done around 170 odd tactics on just pins last week. And so these are slightly more complicated examples of pins. And then I will introduce this additional tactical motif. And then we'll look at how the two things may even combine together, and then go through some high-level examples.
Okay. So one of the forcing moves I'm seeing, there is a check available, but the problem is that I'll lose my queen if I do queen e4 check. Sorry, is that correct? Yeah, queen e4 check, because then knight can take the queen and can take back the knight, but I'm already I'm down on material. So probably that's not the way to go. Is there any other checks available? I don't see any other checks right now. So one thing I'm seeing is that the e4 pawn is pinned. It's an absolute pin, and it has two defenders. I'm seeing there's a queen and there's a knight defending that pawn.
Yeah.
Whereas the pin is being attacked by two of my pieces, which is the queen and the knight.
Yeah.
So one thinking here, I'm thinking, can the rook take the knight and remove defender, and now okay, so what is my forcing move? So one forcing move I'm thinking is that, but I don't know if it is a good bargain, because I'm trying to think, rook takes d2,
Yeah.
and but the thing is that if rook takes d2, the thing is that the white queen can still protect the e4 pawn by Wait, no, hold on.
Don't forget to
Can I
count the
gain
pieces
material?
too.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm losing it. So,
Yeah.
uh, so if say queen does something like, um, okay, so if the queen doesn't take back, for example,
Yeah.
right? If the queen doesn't take back and the queen goes e3, e1, anything of that sort, and just say I'm just going to stay away from it, I'm up a piece. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So probably that's not what it's going to do.
Yeah.
Of course, the white queen is not going to go to d1 or d3 because that again is going to be suicidal, right? Because you're going to just give up the queen. So I'm assuming that mm, it might take back. Maybe queen takes d2
Yeah. So
after
you've already established that if the queen goes to any other square, you just win a piece.
up a piece. Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
at
Okay.
this point, you shouldn't waste time thinking about all the different squares the queen can go to,
Okay. So
because
queen takes, yeah.
one is that you've established that you win anyway,
Yeah.
okay, and the other thing is
Yeah.
that none of those moves are forcing moves. Let's just try to streamline our thought process.
So forcing moves from white.
Also from, yeah, exactly, from white.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So basically, rook takes d2, queen takes d2.
Yeah, because then
Now,
white is up material,
white
right?
white is up material, right?
Okay.
But now my pin is weakened, right? It's more vulnerable. So now I have a forcing move. Now I can give the check queen e5, e4. Queen takes e4 check. Um, uh, or yeah, so that to me is the forcing move, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, I can do knight takes e4 and threaten the queen, but that's sort of immaterial because the queen can move away,
Okay.
and there's no threat. So queen takes e4. There are two ways to protect this king right now, right? One is rook g2. Uh, uh, is that right?
I need
Yeah,
you
rook g.
to go back to visualizing that position. So let's go through it again. Rook takes d2, queen takes d2,
Yeah.
and
Then
now you
queen
said
takes.
queen takes e4 check,
Yes.
and then you said rook g2.
Yes.
Okay. And what does black have there?
Uh, I'm unsure about that. Hold on. Let's see. Do I have? So my rook is pinned. Uh,
So what does black have there that's good? I'm not saying that there is anything that's good. I'm asking you if there is anything decisive there for black. Now, instead of rook g2, you should also consider other moves, right?
yeah. So
But in all of those ways of protecting the king, so rook g2, or another way to block that check is what?
queen.
Queen g2. So you can consider both moves together and see if black has anything decisive there. And remember, you're down material.
Oh yeah, that's the part I forgot. Okay.
Yeah.
So black. I don't know. Black doesn't seem to have anything decisive after queen g2 because now basically my well. And I can exchange queens, but I am down a rook at that point.
Yeah. So
Basically,
yeah.
yeah.
So once you've seen all that, just trust yourself. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So probably that's not good.
Okay.
All of that is not good.
All right. So the most forcing move was the check, and you concluded that that probably didn't work.
Maybe that was wrong.
Okay. So what's the other move that you can consider? So Tuhagami knight takes g4 after rook g2 is fine. You win a pawn, but even there, you don't have anything decisive. You're down in exchange, and the rooks can also be really active on the g file against your king. So actually taking that pawn may not be a good idea at all, right? Because you can come under heavy attack soon. Yeah.
Okay. So this is not happening. Okay. So you mentioned about queen takes e4 check. That's what I first considered, which and I thought was not going to be good um, because knight's going to just take it back. So I have ignored that. I just want to confirm that is that's. Am I missing something here? I'm not able to fully convince myself
Okay,
that
so
I'm.
after checks, what are the forcing moves?
After check, knight takes c4.
Knight
I
takes
lose my.
e4 is one potentially interesting move, right?
Or yes, yeah, because
Because
I
it's both
wouldn't
a
expect.
capture and a threat on the queen, which is a pretty powerful threat.
Sorry, I'm talking about. So I'm taking the first move as black. Black queen takes e4 check.
Oh, you mean in this position? Black queen
Yeah.
takes e4?
Yeah. What are we talking about? Sorry, I
Oh, okay.
lost my.
Okay. You go down. I mean, I want to see where you're going with this. So
Okay,
if
so
black
I just
goes,
want. I'm again going back to the very first thing I said, which is like, oh, the obvious move, which is black queen takes e4 check is the most forcing move, but that's immaterial because I'm gonna lose my queen, is what I said.
yeah.
So I'm not gonna consider that, right?
Okay.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. I
all
thought
right.
you were
So
still talking about the position after rook takes d2, queen takes d2.
okay, so let's go back. Okay, rook takes d2, queen takes d2, black. Okay. So black e4 check.
Knight
Uh,
e4. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So you're talking about queen e4 check. We already looked at that, right?
that's fine. Right. The next forcing move would be correct. Okay, so we are looking at the next candidate. The
Yeah.
next forcing move would
Because
be
you had
knight
looked
takes
at this
e4.
briefly and discarded it earlier
Yes,
as
that's
the
right.
less forcing move. So you need to go back to that now.
Okay. So knight takes e4. So now threatening threatening the queen.
Yeah.
Um, uh, okay. So so now the queen has to move.
Okay. And to figure out the ideas in the position, just assume that the queen goes somewhere. So you want to see what the idea is, right? You attack the
Queen
queen,
goes,
the
yeah,
queen goes somewhere, and then what
and
is the idea?
then it's what is that, like a discovered check or something maybe?
Yeah. So
Yeah. So I
where?
can do maybe knight f2.
Okay. And then what is that?
Uh, that's that's a double check. Is
Yes.
it?
So when
Yeah.
there's a double check, do you know what is forced?
Uh,
Can you block a double
your
check?
king has to move.
The
Your
king
king
has to
has
move
to move.
because you cannot
Right.
block. You can only
Okay.
block one
One
check
at
at
a
a
time.
time,
Right. Yeah. So the
and
king
the king
but
has to move. So in that
the king
position,
can't
what do you
move.
think that is?
Uh, I mean, it's a
Can the
mate.
king move?
No, it's a mate.
Yeah, it's a checkmate.
It's a mate. Okay. So
So the threat
I
after
see.
rook
So
takes
there's no
d2, queen takes
place.
d2.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
So you essentially have
I
to
see.
either lose your queen or allow checkmate.
Interesting. Okay.
And
Okay.
so with that, I want to also show you that yeah, there's a pin concept here, but usually it works in tandem with other stuff like this double discovered check.
Right. So hold on. I just want to play this
Yeah,
out to
please.
see
Yeah.
what's happening. So here, and this is the next part. So if I move my queen anywhere,
Yeah.
because I can't take, so the knight is not going to be taken back at this. Like you can't take the knight back. So
Yeah.
this discovered check issue, double check issue is there. You can't do anything about it.
Yes.
So you can put this thing anywhere you want. It doesn't matter. It's
Doesn't
coming.
matter. Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah. You can put it anywhere you want, except maybe you can delay the
Yeah.
inevitable by one move by putting it on, or that. Yeah. Or that.
Yeah, all that stuff. But yeah, okay, all right,
But
okay,
yeah, there's no escaping the loss
Okay.
of queen.
All right, Okay, this makes sense. Okay.
Okay,
These
so
are hard.
okay, good. So because you did so many, I wanted to get a sense of what would be easy, what would be,
Yeah, these are hard. I mean,
challenging for
they
you.
involve like multiple steps, and I think also there was also this momentum that I was carrying.
Yeah.
So I don't
So
think
I
it's
would
fair.
recommend, in addition to doing tactics, you have the Polgar book.
Right.
So try to do like 10 mate in twos if possible per day.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. All right, right,
Because
right.
that is
Makes
great
sense.
for developing your visualization skills.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Okay, so the
Another
next
one.
one.
Uh,
First, take a moment, look at the position. It's white to
White to
move.
move. Right. Okay.
And the first question is a very simple one. Identify the pin in the position. Actually, I want you to identify two pins in the position.
Uh,
Like two meaningful pins, that is. There are multiple pins,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. So yeah,
like two
correct.
meaningful
Yeah.
pins.
So one is the pin this.
Okay?
The other is potentially this. Like I don't know that this is a uh, potentially right. It's not a pin right now in the sense that, but if the king moves, no, no, no. Hold on. That makes sense. Sorry. I meant this. This would be. Is that this? That's also a.
That's a pin. Okay, so let me go back to what you said about this one. I want to introduce the concept of pinning not to a piece, but to a square.
Okay. Pinning a piece to a square, so you can't
Pinning
move
this
from.
pawn not to the king. So you said if the king moves here, then that's a pin. But you don't
Yeah.
necessarily need the king there for this to work as a pin, because these squares in front of the king are vulnerable. So let's say there
Right.
is a mating threat on g7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? In
Yeah.
that case, this pawn on e5 is pinned to the square g7. Because g7 is
Interesting.
just as important as the king, because if you allow a piece to come there, then that's checkmate.
Yeah.
So you don't actually need to have a piece here for this to act as a pin.
Oh, I see.
If
Okay.
you have a
Okay.
weakness here, right? Even that is a pin to a weakness.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
a slightly
Okay.
advanced concept. So
Right.
typically
Right.
in tactics books, you will always see a piece there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
But here, the idea is that this is still a pin.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
The quantity of interest being these squares here.
Right. Okay. So
All
this
right,
is
so
interesting.
that's your hint. And
Yeah.
so now you can start
So
looking at
okay.
the picture.
So I'm seeing something here. So okay. So first of all, I just want to say this knight here is pinned, and because of that, so this is one thing that I've been trying to do, is that because of a pinned piece, what are the squares that get weakened because of that, right? Because it can't move away. So this one, all of them have issues of because the knight is not actually defending those squares, right? So
Okay.
that's one thing I'm seeing, right? Now, the other thing is because this is a potential pin, and like if this moves away from here, then I have this whole barrel of attack along this diagonal coming, potentially a mating threat along this diagonal. So my initial thought is that what if I do rook takes f4,
Okay.
and so if they don't move the e pawn, then you're just down material.
Yeah.
So if they take it, if takes pawn takes f4, then I do bishop h8, and then I don't know what is there. Some queen f6 or something, but doesn't matter. It's coming because the queen is gonna come and
Yeah.
do a mate.
Yeah, you got it. That's
Yeah,
exactly,
okay.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All right, you take this, do this, and the knight cannot take because of this pin.
Pin right. Yeah.
And so you really cannot prevent
You
mate
don't have
on
time to
G7.
recover, right? Yeah,
I mean, so you have to give up the queen here.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, that's just delaying the inevitable.
yeah.
All right, good. Okay, so this is something that I don't really expect you or even someone at my level to solve completely.
Okay.
Because this is an example from a game that was played in 2015 between Nakamura and MVL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this was a positional brilliancy that Nakamura played.
Mm. Mm.
So here, the aspects of the position are this bishop is terrible on b7, because earlier in the game Nakamura induced the c6 move and completely shut down this bishop.
I see. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so various things happened in the game and we got to this position. And here,
Yeah.
I just wanted to present this to you as a high level, elite level use of this idea of pins, but in combination with hardcore, like concrete calculation.
I see.
Okay,
Interesting. Okay.
so for our purposes here, I just want to ask you, where do you see a pin or a potential pin that you can set up in this position?
So one pin is this. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a pin because this rook is also defended by this queen. So
Yeah, it's defended by the queen, knight, and the other rook.
right. So that would you consider that to be a pin? No,
Not really.
that's because
Especially
once
because
it's
the queen is more valuable.
correct. Okay. Okay. The other is when you have so if this knight if this pawn moves away, then we could have something here like that
Yeah.
would be
Okay.
that would be something.
Okay.
Um, um, maybe if all of these move away, then there could be something along this diagonal. But the problem is that what you're pinning is actually a bishop, so you could. That's also another issue that I faced with. Like if you're trying to pin a piece that can just take the pinning piece, then it's like sometimes not
Yeah.
effective.
So I think at this point you've identified the main, pins in the position,
Right.
and the first pin that you mentioned along the D file
Yeah.
is of relevance here. So let me. Do you want to predict the first move? Let's just have you predict the first move.
Thinking d5.
D5.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just show you what Nakamura played, because this is a tough problem even for me. Okay.
Right.
So let me just show you how it works.
Yeah, maybe.
Nakamura played knight c5.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So the idea being that if you take, then that's a pin, and you regain the piece.
Yeah.
However, you regain the piece with some advantages, because now black has these weak isolated pawns.
I see. Okay.
And this sort of thing in the endgame, these elite players are really good at converting these in the endgame.
I see.
So this is as good as potentially winning for Nakamura.
This situation right
This
here.
situation here. Because right now what black needs to do is probably like block this D file, right? And then you simply take this, and then you can do something like this, centralize the knight. I don't know, the queen goes somewhere, you centralize the queen, and this is an overwhelming position for white.
I see. Interesting.
Okay. So for that reason, b takes c5 doesn't really work, but then neither does bishop takes, because you take that and then the queen has to go somewhere. Let's say here, you just take the pawn, and then here's a double attack on the king and that pawn, and you win a pawn. So you have to calculate all of this and understand that the other capture led to this positional plus for you. So that's taking advantage of that pin along the D file to, make all these positional gains. So this is high level, elite level play. But I just wanted to show you a couple of these examples. It's like how we learned all these sophisticated, math analysis when we were in college, but never really knew what they were meant for. So this is just an illustration of high level play that where a pin is just one part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's go to the next position. Another high level example. Here it's a game between Nakamura on the white side and Caruana on the black side.
Black to move.
Black to move, and uh, Caruana here took this pawn,
Okay.
and the game ended in a draw later on.
Okay.
However,
So
here I want you to use the concept of a pin, and not necessarily a pin to a piece, but a pin to a square, to try and come up with another move that could be better
for black.
for black.
Okay. Pin to a square. Okay. So what is I think you want to identify vulnerable squares
Yeah,
if I want to,
vulnerable,
right?
weak squares is what you want to
Right.
identify.
Yeah. So, uh, okay. So let's see. Vulnerable squares. Something's pin to a square. I'm looking at things around valuable pieces.
Uh-huh.
So if you have value, white, like, are there vulnerable squares around king,
Yeah,
rook, queen, that kind of thing, right?
yeah.
So, okay. So this is interesting. So I'm thinking if is this knight sort of I'm thinking if the queen can get to this side or something, there's a problem, right? Like if it
Yeah,
can get
I don't want
here,
you to work out all the
right?
variations.
So maybe this knight,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that's the idea. So you correctly
ah,
recognize that these are all weak squares.
right,
And for example, if you can get the queen here, then there are some mating threats that you can potentially create.
right,
However, there are many details to this, but people like Caruana are certainly capable of calculating all of those out. So had he
right,
seen that possibility, he would have done something like this,
ah,
and did something like this when
right,
oh, I don't know, maybe he should have gone like here, and then defended with knight f1, but it is already a very passive position,
right.
and yeah, this has to be a winning position for black because you have this pawn that's ready to run. Yeah,
Yeah, I see.
so you
Yeah,
don't even have to calculate specific variations here.
right, right. Okay,
Okay,
okay.
so that's another high level example.
Yeah,
Okay, so now let's talk about forks, which
yeah.
I've noticed that you don't miss a lot of forks, but we should still cover our bases.
Right.
So this is white to move,
Yeah. So yeah, I see it. Knight d5.
d5 check,
Yeah,
because the
because
pawn
you
is
can't
pinned.
take it. Yeah,
Yeah,
pinned. Yeah,
so a pin combined with a fork is pretty deadly.
right.
Okay, okay, how about this one? White to move.
Oh, white to move. Okay. Yeah. Um, let's see. Okay. So what I'm seeing is that the black bishop is not protected right now. So I can maybe do for knight d6, and if bishop. Wait. Hold on. No, no. Wait.
So if people in
Okay. So
chat
so
come
if
up with a
if
solution, feel free to type. Yeah.
yeah, if I so if I don't move my knight away, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I try to defend it with my rook, that is still not good. Okay, so still thinking like forcing moves. Um,
Okay.
so I'll probably have to move my knight away. I'm thinking if I do, uh, where can I put it? Right. So
Hey, Arun. Good to see you. Okay, so can
think
you
knight
give the entire
d6,
line? Yeah.
knight d6.
All right.
Uh, oh yeah, knight d6. Okay, so knight d6, and then bishop moves away. Uh, maybe bishop can. Okay, so the square that I'm trying to go to is f5.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I'm headed, but
Yeah.
bishop can protect that from d7
D7, very
or,
good. So you
or
shouldn't try to
g6,
help
but
yourself by putting the
right,
bishop on some other square. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but I can actually get rook e7 check, and that's a fork.
That's a fork. Okay, let's keep
Yeah.
going.
Uh, um, so So hold on. So bishop. Okay. So just to clarify, bishop cannot be on g6, right? Because then the pawn is h5 pawn is there, so it's going to take it. So after knight d6, bishop d7, rook e7 fork.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's say king
uh,
f6.
uh, King f6. Um, 6. Rook takes bishop.
Rook takes bishop. I go king e6.
Uh, King e6.
Now I'm the one forking you.
And you're the one forking me. Um, what's up? Trouble. So,
Oh, keep going, keep going.
yeah, hold on. So, uh, no, hold on.
Okay, do you have the
So,
position in your head?
that's what I'm just trying to focus on. So,
Yeah.
e6, you said. Okay, so here.
So the black king is
Oh,
on
yeah.
e6.
So, yeah, right. So now I can maybe move my knight away, put it on b5. So if they take my rook, I can take the rook back.
Um,
Is that a
okay,
problem?
b5, I can probably go rook b4, and then if you go rook b7, then yeah, it can be a bit annoying.
Are you saying after knight b4, king doesn't take? But if king doesn't take the rook and say they do rook b4, I do rook b7. You know, some.
Yeah, and then I'm saying it's a pin that you're under, so maybe that's not very pleasant.
Right.
So
I see.
there's a
Okay.
slightly better way
Okay.
for black to play.
Okay. So. Okay. So.
Maybe that is winning too. We can check that, but
Yeah.
there is a better way to do this.
So I wonder if knight d6 is correct.
Let's just go to that position where the king is forking.
Hold on. What if I do? What if there's another way, right? Maybe what if I target e6 square?
So the black king is on e6.
Oh, you're right. We are at that position. Okay, we are
Yeah,
at that position. Okay,
yeah. I
yeah.
want you to
Okay,
continue from there, right?
okay. So
So instead
e6.
of knight b5,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
king is forking the rook on d7 and the knight on d6 by
Yeah.
being on e6. So where
So I can't go to. I can't go to. I mean, I can go to. Uh, can I, oh, okay.
Hmm.
What if I do nf7? Mm, and if knight can't take the knight. Sorry, the king can take the knight because the rook is now targeting that, protecting it. But if knight takes the rook, I can go knight takes h6, opening up the pawn line.
But then I just go rook h4 check and I just grab your h5 pawn.
Oh, there's a fork there. That yeah, okay. Hmm.
Okay, so
Am I missing out? Yeah,
let me
yeah.
give you
Okay.
black's move. I go rook
Yeah.
d8.
Huh?
Rook d8. Sorry, white's move there. Rook d8.
Okay. Rook d8. Uh, uh, Rook d8. King takes f7.
No, 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 no.
Eh,
So this is a position again with the rook on d7, knight on e6, the king on e6.
Yeah.
Okay, and I play this rook to d8.
Oh, rook to d8. Okay, okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, rook to d8. Yeah. Mm,
and then to avoid, because you're still down material, black has to go to e7 to continue forking.
right.
And here is where you play the final fork.
Right. So if it goes there, then you go to f5.
Yeah.
Okay. All
And then
right.
you take the rook, and that's a much cleaner solution.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. I see.
Okay, so I
Okay.
think your move of knight b5 probably should also work because I couldn't see the refutation. Let's just check.
Okay.
So, okay, b6 here, 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 rook here, and here, yeah, knight b5 works. Yeah, knight b5 is fine. This just
Yeah.
seems a bit cleaner to me. Yeah.
I see.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's good.
All right. Okay. Last one.
Okay, setting up a knight fork.
Setting up a knight for. Okay. White to move, I suppose.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Yeah. Okay. Mm,
Again, think forcing moves.
yeah. Queen takes e5. Rook takes e5. Knight takes d7, forking the rook and the bishop. If maybe, let's see. It can if the rook takes e3. No, that's I'll lose material at that point, right? Because I can't take knight takes b6 because I'll just I'm down material at that point. Right? One. Or am I losing count?
You don't exactly lose material, but you're already
Even.
down a pawn.
Oh, there's that too. Oh, yeah. So let's see. Hold on. Forcing move. Yeah. Knight. Sorry. Rook f8 check. Rook takes f8. Knight takes d7, forking rook and queen.
Okay, hang on. So
Yeah.
if rook takes f8, then do you see anything better?
Huh?
If rook f8 check and black takes rook takes f8, then what do you capture?
You take the rook.
No.
Hold on. So wait. What am I saying? Okay, so rook takes f8, and I basically rook check on
Yeah.
f8.
Yeah.
So I basically lose the rook. I can go. Oh, then I can take. Sorry, queen takes e5.
Yeah.
Uh, um,
So so what's more powerful, a rook or a queen?
queen is yes, yeah, but
Yeah. So you've given up your rook and you've gained.
so that's good. That's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, that's the
okay.
answer.
So hold on. My answer is what? Rook f8 check.
Yeah, rook takes f8.
Eight and queen takes e5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why is that good?
Because queen is more valuable than the rook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've just gained his queen by giving up just a rook. And that should be
Okay.
winning.
Okay.
And if
Yeah.
king takes the rook, then
Then you have the fork.
then you have the fork. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
then
if
you have the
rook takes the rook, you simply win the queen and the game.
Right.
Okay.
Right. In either case, you will get the queen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. All right.
Alright.
Okay. So this is good. Yeah.
Okay. So let's maybe stop here.
That sounds good. Yeah.
I just want to show you what I had in mind for the endgame part for today.
Okay.
So maybe
Wow.
maybe the level of these pins that I picked was slightly higher, but that was intentional because I wanted to show you these complexities.
Right. That's okay. Yeah. Okay.
So in this king and queen endgame, we already went through this last time. So what I would recommend is you play this against the engine, against the computer.
Okay.
You take the white side and you have to be able to mate with very little time on your clock. So you give yourself maybe like 3 minutes on the clock or 5 minutes.
I see. Okay.
Okay. However,
Right
the
now?
next thing that I wanted to do. Sorry.
Do you want me to do it right now?
No, you
Okay,
can
okay,
do
yeah.
it like
Oh, yeah,
anytime
okay.
during the week.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to do was to do the same thing except introduce a knight for the losing side.
Okay.
The intention behind this was to watch out for knight forks.
Ah. Okay.
So this will be an interesting exercise, which again you can
Okay.
try out against a computer, or you can just play it against me at some point.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And then next week I think we'll continue with our discussion
Yeah.
of calculation and forcing moves. Okay,
That
because
sounds
today
good, yeah.
today you did some heavy lifting with calculation on those problems, which
Right,
involved
right.
a lot more than just one tactical theme. So
Right,
that we can
exactly.
consider as our calculation exercise for today as well.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay,
I think,
so
yeah,
great.
my brain is toast too at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was hard work. All right, so we'll do this again next week.
Yeah, next week, yeah,
Thanks to all of you who joined and participated. Okay, see you next week.
Thank you. Thanks,
Okay,
Vishnu.
bye bye.
Bye bye.